Hello and welcome to another episode of the Kid Stories Podcast. I'm Phil Bechtel. Let's get into a shout-out. Leo from New Zealand is a big fan. Leo, I think if you were a character from the stories, you'd be a kid wizard who gets his magic from an ancient mouse he keeps in his pocket, and you and the magic mouse would go on a dangerous journey together so that you could help the mouse regain his human form that was stolen from him by an evil sorcerer. And once the mouse became a human wizard again, he would permanently grant you magical powers. Thanks for listening, Leo. Ada drew an awesome drawing of the fart belt. So cool, Ada. Thank you for that. Ada, I think if you were a character from the stories, you would be the Curse Breaker. A wizard of incredible power who can undo even the most powerful of curses, and people would seek you out from all over the world to undo curses and hexes. Thanks for listening, Ada. Today's episode is the 6th in the Magic Fix series titled Embers Flame. The horses were stumbling with exhaustion by the time the Dragon Highlands came into view. Nora, Pip, and Finn had ridden through the entire night, stopping only to rest the animals when it became clear they would collapse if pushed any further. "There," Finn said, pointing toward the familiar mountain peaks as the first hints of dawn painted the sky pale pink. "We made it." "Barely," Pip muttered, swaying in her saddle. Her eyes were barely open, she was so tired, and her usually neat hair was tangled from the wind. Nora was in the best shape of the three, but even she felt like she might fall asleep standing up. The events at Elena's facility felt like a nightmare now. Had they really escaped from a massive criminal operation just hours ago? "How long do you think we have before Elena moves everything?" Finn asked as they began the climb up the mountain path. "Not long," Nora replied. "She knows we saw too much. She'll want to relocate before we can bring help." "You know, if the dragons don't get all those villains, they know who we are and exactly where we work and live. They could have already sent..." Pip began to wonder out loud. "Let's just do one thing at a time," Finn said. As they crested the final ridge and entered the Dragon Highlands, the same 3 dragons from before stood at a large cave entrance. The kids walked over to talk to the dragons, but when they saw what was in the cave, they ran inside. There, in the shadow of this huge cave, were a few smaller dragons and some campfires. On a stone pedestal, Ember lay on a blanket. The kids began running when they noticed it was him and stopped short, wanting to reach out and pick him up. But they could see he wasn't well. A slim, bright green dragon stepped over to Ember and breathed on him. Instead of fire, a light green mist came from the dragon's mouth. The kids recognized this dragon from their books back at the shop. It was called a forest green, or a moss dragon. Instead of breathing fire, they breathed a healing mist. "My healing mist is powerful," said the dragon, "but it will only work for so long." "Ember," Pip breathed. Ember was alive, but barely. The little dragon lay on his side, scales so dull they looked almost gray. Black smoke drifted continuously from his nostrils, and his breathing was shallow and labored. "You're back," said the brown dragon, lifting its massive head as they approached. "We were beginning to worry." "How is he?" Nora asked. The kids all stood around Ember still, glad he was breathing, but scared at how sick he looked. "Worse," admitted one of the green dragons. "The fever progressed rapidly during the night. He's been unconscious for the past few hours." Finn knelt beside their friend and gently touched Ember's side. The little dragon's skin felt cold, something that should have been impossible for a fire-breathing creature. "Ember," Pip whispered, "can you hear us?" For a moment there was no response. Then Ember's eyes fluttered open, just barely. "Did you find them?" he asked weakly, his voice barely audible. "We found them," Nora said firmly. "We found your cure and we found the stolen eggs, all of it, everything." Ember managed what might have been a smile before his eyes closed again. The brown dragon stepped closer, her expression grave. "Tell us everything. What did you discover?" Nora took a deep breath, trying to organize the overwhelming information they had gathered. "It's bigger than we thought. Much bigger." "How much bigger?" asked one of the green dragons. "They have at least 40 eggs," Finn said. "Maybe more. And they're not just from the Dragon Highlands. They're stealing from dragon communities all over. I don't even know from where." The wild dragons exchanged shocked glances. 40 eggs? The brown dragon repeated. "In a massive underground facility," Pip nodded. "Multiple chambers, professional equipment, magical climate control. This isn't some small-time theft operation. It's a full criminal enterprise." "They've been doing this for years," Nora added. "They have workshops for processing dragon shells, laboratories for experimenting with hatching conditions, even living quarters for their workers." The green dragon's eyes began to glow with anger. "Years? How many dragon families have been robbed?" "There's more," Finn said quietly. "They don't just steal the eggs to sell the shells. They're hatching some of them and raising the dragons to serve them." The silence that followed was deafening. The brown dragon's expression shifted from anger to something much deeper, a kind of horror that spoke to the violation of everything dragons held sacred. "You saw these enslaved dragons?" she asked finally. "One of them," Nora confirmed. "They called him Rex. He's a copper red, about the size of a horse. His eyes were completely empty. No intelligence, no personality, just obedience." The brown dragon closed her eyes as if in pain. "Copper reds are among our most independent spirits. To reduce one to a mindless guard." "The woman in charge, Elena, she talked about him like he was property," Finn said. "She was proud of what they'd done to him."
"Elena," repeated one of the green dragons. "We will remember that name."
The kids went on, describing as much as they could remember about the facility, its location, and the number of guards working there. "There's something else," Pip said. "They know who we are and where we live. Elena's operation isn't just a threat to dragon families anymore. It's a threat to us personally." "They might try to capture us to keep us quiet," Nora added. "Or worse." The brown dragon studied their exhausted faces.
"You've done more than we asked. You've risked your lives and exposed yourselves to great danger."
She turned and nodded to the moss dragon in the cave, who brought a small bowl of milky liquid to Ember's mouth while he slept. She poured it down his throat, and he didn't wake up.
"It's done," the brown dragon said. "Ember has ingested our medicine of Heartfire Root. He must remain here until he is strong enough to travel. But soon he will be fully recovered. In the meantime," the dragon continued, "I would like to make you an offer."
The kids perked up. Their minds were clear now that they knew Ember was going to be okay, and they were excited about working with these dragons.
"I want you to come help us pursue these egg-thieving monsters. But you don't have to. Your obligation to us is fulfilled. However, if you do, you may choose an item from our treasury to help you, and keep it."
The kids immediately looked at each other and tried to hold back smiles. They never would have imagined ever being able to talk to dragons from the Highlands, much less be asked to help them. A couple days ago, they were just hoping not to be eaten by them. Now they were being asked to fight alongside them and to be allowed in their treasury. Without saying a word to each other, they all nodded. "We'll help you," Nora said.
"Good. We'll need your first-hand knowledge of their lair."
The brown dragon nodded his head in another direction.
"Follow us to the treasury."
The brown dragon led them deeper into the mountain through passages that seemed to have been carved by dragon claws centuries ago. The tunnels wound upward and downward through chambers that glowed with their own internal light. How far back do these caves go? Finn asked, his voice echoing off the stone walls.
Miles, replied one of the green dragons.
Our people have been expanding them for over 1,000 years. Each generation adds new chambers, new hiding places, new storage areas.
After nearly 20 minutes of walking, they reached what appeared to be a dead end. A smooth stone wall with no visible openings. The brown dragon approached the wall and placed her massive claw against a specific spot. Ancient runes flared to life across the stone's surface, glowing with warm golden light.
Only true dragons can open the treasury,
she explained as the wall began to shift and separate, revealing an entrance. What lay beyond took the kids' breath away. The treasury chamber was enormous, easily the size of a cathedral. The ceiling disappeared into shadows high above, and the walls were lined with alcoves, shelves, and display cases that stretched as far as they could see. Everything gleamed and glittered in the soft magical light that emanated from crystals embedded in the walls.
"This is incredible,"
Pip whispered, her voice filled with awe. Everywhere they looked, there were treasures beyond imagination. Weapons and armor crafted from metals they had never seen before. Jewels the size of their fists that pulsed with inner fire. Books bound in dragon scales that whispered secrets as they passed. Mechanical devices so intricate and beautiful they looked like artwork.
Every dragon family contributes to the treasury,
the brown dragon explained as they walked deeper into the chamber.
Items of power, beauty, and usefulness. We save them for times of great need.
And this qualifies as a time of great need? Nora asked.
Enslaved dragons? Said one of the green dragons. Stolen eggs? Yes, this more than qualifies.
They walked past section after section of incredible items. There was an entire wall dedicated to weapons. Swords that glowed with their own light, crossbows that seemed to hum with contained energy, staffs that crackled with barely controlled magic. Another section contained what appeared to be magical tools and accessories. Cloaks that shimmered like water, boots that left no footprints, bags and pouches that seemed far too small for their contents.
Take your time,
the brown dragon said.
Choose wisely.
Nora was immediately drawn to the weapons section. After her experience with Elena's guards, she knew they needed better equipment for what was coming. Her eyes fell on a crossbow that seemed to call to her. Its wood was a deep, rich brown that seemed to glow from within, and its string appeared to be made from some kind of crystallized energy. "This one," she said, reaching for it carefully. The moment her fingers touched the crossbow, she felt a warm tingle run up her arm.
Excellent choice,
the brown dragon approved.
Trueflight never misses its intended target. The bolts it fires are conjured from pure magical energy. You will never run out of ammunition, and they can pierce any armor.
Nora lifted the crossbow and was amazed by how perfectly it fit in her hands, as if it had been made specifically for her. She could feel the weapon's power humming through the grip. Meanwhile, Pip had been examining the magical accessories section with growing excitement. There were pouches and bags of every description, but one in particular caught her attention. A satchel that seemed ordinary at first glance, but something about it made her fingers itch to touch it. "What about this one?" she asked, pointing to the unassuming leather bag.
"Ah,"
said one of the green dragons with something that might have been amusement.
"The Infinite Alchemist's Satchel. A very practical choice."
Pip picked up the satchel and immediately gasped. The moment she touched it, she could sense its vast internal space. She looked inside, and it was like looking up at the night sky. It seemed infinite.
"It can hold unlimited supplies," the green dragon explained, "and it will keep everything perfectly preserved and organized. It also knows exactly what you want to pull out when your hand goes in. You always immediately find exactly what you're looking for."
"This is perfect," Pip breathed, slinging the satchel over her shoulder. It felt weightless, despite the magical vastness she could sense within it. Finn had been studying the more subtle items, things that enhanced rather than replaced natural abilities. His attention was drawn to a pair of boots that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it, and a cloak that was hard to focus on even when he was looking directly at it.
"Those are an interesting combination,"
the brown dragon noted, following his gaze. "What do they do?" Finn asked.
"The Shadowstep Boots will make your movements completely silent. No footfall, no creaking, no sound at all. The Cloak of Overlook doesn't make you invisible, but it makes people's attention slide away from you. Together they make you very, very difficult to notice."
Finn considered this. In the facility, they would need someone who could move unseen and unheard. "These," he said decisively, reaching for the boots and cloak. The moment he put them on, he felt the change. His movements became silent, and something about his presence seemed to diminish. Not physically, but in a way that made him feel like he was constantly blending into the background. They returned to the main cave where an impressive gathering was taking place. 6 additional dragons had arrived while they were in the Treasury. Dragons of different colors and sizes that Nora recognized from their research. There was a massive Golden Imperial, easily the largest dragon any of them had ever seen. 2 storm greys with scales that sparked occasionally with electrical energy. A crystal blue, whose very presence made the air around her feel cooler. And 2 more Highland greens, their scales darker and more battle-scarred than the ones they had first met. And a few young dragons, only as big as the horses the kids were used to riding.
"The word has spread," the brown dragon explained. "When dragons learn that eggs are being stolen, our kind enslaved, dragons from all over have responded."
The Golden Imperial stepped forward, and when he spoke, his voice resonated with ancient authority.
"I am Pyraxis, eldest of the Highland dragons. These children have done us a great service, and they have agreed to help us rescue our stolen young."
"What's the plan?" asked one of the storm greys, electrical energy crackling along his scales. The brown dragon spread her wings and began outlining the strategy.
"The facility is built into underground chambers beneath an abandoned farm. Elena's people will be expecting trouble."
"How many humans are we dealing with?" asked the crystal blue. "At least a dozen armed guards," Nora replied, "plus Elena herself and possibly more that we didn't see." "And the enslaved dragon," Finn added. The dragon's expressions darkened at this reminder. Pyraxis's golden eyes flashed.
"We'll try to subdue the captured dragon without harming him, if possible. The plan is this," the brown dragon continued. "We attack at dawn, when the human guards will be tired and less alert. The aerial assault will draw their attention skyward, while these 3 infiltrate the underground chambers."
"What's our job exactly?" Pip asked.
"Guide us to the exact locations of the eggs," Pyraxis replied. "The facility is too small for most of us to fit, and you know the layout. Lead our young dragons down there and bring the eggs above ground."
One of the storm greys looked concerned.
"What about the children's safety? They'll be in great danger during an active battle."
"Yeah, do you have other human friends who will be meeting us there or anything?" Finn asked. These dragons were intimidating and powerful, but only a few of the younger ones could fit underground with them.
"We dragons are not exactly good at making friends of humans," a green dragon said.
"And that's why they have their new equipment,"
the brown dragon said.
"Between their new equipment and the young dragons we're sending down with them, they should be able to return the eggs."
"Should be,"
muttered one of the Highland greens.
"That's not exactly reassuring."
"It's the best plan we have," Nora said firmly. "And every hour we wait gives Elena more time to move the eggs or improve her defenses." Pyraxis nodded approvingly.
"Spoken like a true warrior. Very well. We attack at first light. That gives us a few hours to rest and make final preparations."
The meeting broke up as the dragons began making their own preparations. Some flew off to scout the area around the facility. Others practiced coordinated flight maneuvers. The kids lay down, propped against the pedestal where Ember was recovering. A few slow blinks and they were nearly asleep when a commotion stirred them. Two small, thin dragons yelled for others as they dropped out of the sky. The kids recognized these as cloud dragons, able to fly higher than any others. They had been scouting Elena's operation.
"We must attack now!"
one of the cloud dragons shouted as it landed. The other dragons quickly bounded over to hear.
"The operation is moving! We saw guards and others emerging from hidden exits throughout the forest surrounding the base. And she's called in reinforcements, more guards, and—"
The other cloud dragon spoke up.
"A shadow black! It must be one that she hatched herself. It's full grown and patrolling the area."
Nora felt her heart sink. Shadow blacks were among the rarest and most dangerous dragons. Their ability to become invisible made them perfect for reconnaissance and assassination.
"Let's go then!"
the brown dragon shouted to the kids. They jumped up, not sure what they were supposed to be doing. Then, noticing the three young dragons nearby, their heads lowered, offering the kids a ride.
"Oh, sweet,"
said Pip, climbing on her dragon.
"You three ready?"
Nora's dragon asked.
"Yes,"
the kids all said at once. They smiled at each other and watched as those smiles faded to more serious expressions. A shadow black dragon and more guards. More and more, this was feeling like a mission they might not all return from. But hey, there's nothing like a dragon ride through the clouds to clear your mind before an impending epic battle. The end. Thanks for listening, friends. The website is kidstoriespodcast.com. Send all your drawings and things to kidstoriespodcast@gmail.com. Adios.